Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app and streaming on YouTube at the Team 980. Ready to go on this, another Victory Monday where, Anthony, are we ready to go? We got the fancy open. We got the fancy introduction over there. I can try to get it up over here. You got it? We're good to go? All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is a Monday. The Commanders played yesterday, which means it is time for First and 10.
It's time to get the breakdown started. 1, 2, 3, First up, 10 observations.
Just took his guy and just boom, just put him right on the ground.
It's First and 10.
We go immediately into
Number 1.
the Commanders are a mature and resilient football team, and that will win you games in the NFL. There is no sugarcoating the start of yesterday's game. That was ugly. They gave up big plays. They had coverage busts. They had miscommunications. Offensively, they squandered opportunities. Specifically, their long snapper squandered an opportunity, but there was other misses from the offensive players as well. They gave up pressures. They gave up sacks. They is some offensive line, some Sam Howell. You had mistakes all over the field. But as I said for number one last week, football games are 60 minutes. You just keep playing, and eventually things will turn. And that's where the maturity and the resilience comes in. The resilience is the just keep playing part. Just figure out a way to not start fighting each other, to keep rowing the boat proverbially in the right direction. Excellent. Good. Check. Resiliency. But the maturity is to trust what you're doing and that your coaches will put you in the opportunity or give you the opportunities to make plays and to continue to execute, to not panic. That comes from maturity, which is interesting. And Logan made this point on the post-game show yesterday. I thought it was really good, is that a lot of times you look to leaders that have been there before. And, you know, B-Mitch actually said this. B-Mitch started the analogy. Logan picked it up on the Commanders postgame show. And B-Mitch is like, you know, when the plane starts wavering a little bit, you look to the flight attendants, and they have a calmness about them. And if they panic, then you might need to panic. But the reason they don't panic is because they've done this before. They've been through it. Well, the funny thing about the Commanders is their flight attendant, if you will, Sam Howell, has not been there before. He just is good anyway. He never loses his mind anyway. And that is pretty special. And so far through 2 weeks where they've had to fight adversity, which is something you will see almost every week in the NFL, they've fought through it. They've been mature, they've been resilient, and thus they are 2-0.
Number 2.
Sam Howell. Very, very good. Still plenty of room to grow. It is a wacky bit here that he threw for 299 yards yesterday, and I could do an hour today on the areas where he needs to improve. That is good, and this is this constant balance of growth and where is he right now. It's why Sam Howell is worth it right now, because he's good enough to be better than Jacoby Brissett, while also going, wow, dude, if you would clean up X, Y, and Z, you could make your life a lot easier. But the good stuff with him is just next level. I mean, it starts really... I mean, obviously the game turns, so we'll talk about it in a second on the Jamin Davis forced fumble, right? But they come down and they have a 4th down in the red zone, and he drills a ball to Logan Thomas. Now, unfortunately, Logan Thomas is on the receiving end of a dirty and somehow not being suspended hit by Kareem Jackson. Nikki Javala of the Post reporting a little bit earlier that Jackson will not be punished for that in terms of a suspension, which is preposterous, and I don't want to lose my train of thought on Sam, but that's ridiculous. But it's a great throw, and obviously a fantastic catch that gets them a touchdown. Then, to pull them even closer by halftime and ensure that the momentum is fully headed their direction, they drive again at the end of the first half for the second straight week, and he delivers a honey hole shot. Honey hole is the area, or is a term that a lot of folks in the NFL and football in general use to describe the area between 15 and let's call it 22 yards up the sideline against cover 2. In cover 2, there's a flat defender that plays up close to the line of scrimmage by the sideline, and then one of the cover 2 safeties over top, And there's kind of this sweet spot area in between that you can typically squeeze a ball into if you throw with enough velocity and anticipation. And he sees Justin Simmons, the safety, the all-pro safety from Denver, playing too far off. I actually don't know if it was a true cover 2 honey hole. If I'm remembering correctly, he's playing as a single high, but the same kind of concept where he's got this mid-level area that he's got to be perfect into, and he drills John Bates and picks up a huge chunk play. They ultimately get the field goal, go into the half, and that's all she wrote. The comeback is full-fledged on at that point. That's kind of the middle of the 32-3 run. They ultimately survive in the end, but again, we'll get there. That throw is insane. The throw to McLaurin is chef's kiss, perfect, as good as it gets. There's a bunch of other stuff that he does that's really good. But again, like, the room to grow is there too. The way he uses his feet to move around the pocket is good. The way he moves his feet in the pocket, not always the best. Getting the timing and the rhythm of the dropbacks right. And there's certain throws where he hangs on to it a bit too long. And if he could just get the ball out now, they're easier completions. And so these are the things that they're watching on tape. These are the things you expect a young quarterback to have room to grow with. And these are the things that over the course of time, he will continue to get better and better and better at. And the ceiling for this kid is outrageously high. How long is it going to take for him to get there? I don't know. But I think more importantly for the imminent analysis here, he's real good right now. And that's going to fluctuate week to week, but he didn't play near close to a perfect game yesterday, and he had a very good completion percentage for 299 yards and some scores. Take that every day. Sam Howell, 3-0 as a starter going back to the Dallas game last year.
Number 3.
Terry McLaurin, good at football. There is a reason that this guy is highly paid and highly rated. Maybe underrated in the eyes of many. A bit of a secret here in Washington, but man, nobody that flips off on the tape is gonna say anything but great stuff about Terry. Not only did he have 5 targets yesterday, so a little bit higher usage than the week before, but he also draws a PI on Pat Surtain II. Surtain has been like perfect for 2 years, it feels like. Not actually, but I mean, he's to stress him the way Terry stressed him at times yesterday is really impressive. And then the touchdown, man, like the trust that Sam has in the throw and in Terry to go get it. Contested ball, he just beats 3 guys, and it's a special play. I loved, though, I think on a more macro level, it felt like he impacted the game. And the pressure he puts on defenses opens up a lot of other stuff. And when Bieniemy got rolling from a play calling standpoint later in that game, it's in part because you have to account for him on such a high level at all times. Otherwise, he winds up in the end zone. So there was a concerted effort to get him the ball early. They took their deep shots. They called the right shots in the strike zone, and that's how you wind up with the McLaurin touchdown. Really phenomenal job yesterday by EB using him and by Terry to just keep at it after, I would say, a less impactful week 1.
Number 4.
Our 1st and 10 continues with number 4. First segment, 10 observations from a 35-33 Commanders win. How about the running backs yesterday? And I am going to go running backs here because while it would be very easy and almost appropriate to just single out Brian Robinson, who ran like a man possessed, ran like we knew he was capable, with great vision, with great power, with anger. Antonio Gibson also has 2 really big plays yesterday, including that screen as things started to feel like, are they going to swing back? Got a 3rd down situation, and I don't know where the hell the Broncos were on that. Like, it's an obvious screen situation, and EB just schemes it up. I mean, he owns Vance Joseph, man. Like, that's no way to treat your childhood friend, and he did it again after doing it all those years in Kansas City and every other time that they've matched up seemingly in their NFL careers. Bieniemy's just been ridiculous, but they get Gibson out in space and he shows the burst. He almost scores on the play. The contact balance, the speed, the acceleration, the explosiveness, the hands. He's so important to this team reaching the ceiling. And while Robinson, I think, can get, obviously a high workload, handle it, be essential to this offense staying on schedule, Gibson's big playability is going to be really important, and I'm glad that AG felt involved in that game after the fumble in week 1 because I was a little scared he was going to get put on the bench. And I do think for a team that threw the ball 30 times in the first half, there are even more carries available. So, Chris Rodriguez, stay ready. Your time will come, young man.
Number 5.
The turning point in the game. Jamin Davis causes a fumble, and yup, it was a face mask. Yup, they missed it. Sucks to be on the wrong end of calls sometimes, Broncos fans. You'll get one later in the season. It'll even out. Broncos looked like they were just going to start driving again. The defense literally had not stopped them at all. They were imposing their will. They were getting big, explosive plays. And sometimes it just takes someone to make a play. And Rivera in the locker room after the game talked about this. He said, for the first quarter and a half, a lot of guys played. A lot of y'all played like you were waiting for someone else to make the play. Go be the playmaker. And Jamin Davis was the playmaker. He goes, he chases Russ down, the speed that he has. And I'll say this too, not to get too far ahead of myself here, but there's like 3 or 4 guys on this team that do stuff that you just go, that human shouldn't be able to do that. And Chase and Montez, obviously the way they run, Duran, the way that he uses his hands and his quickness inside. I mean, John Allen plays in a way that's exceptional, but he does all the stuff you'd expect exceptionally well. I guess he's so quick and sure, but the way Payne does it and Haluk's doing it, you're just like, that doesn't make any sense. For Jamin to be as big and as strong as he is and to be able to move like that is special. And the way he runs down Russ there, makes the play, forces the fumble. They get a bit lucky in the way it bounces. It stays in bound. Jamin scoops it up, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe it was Barton. Someone came, scoops it up. And they get the turnover, go down, get points, and good things start to happen for them. So that play, and then to take advantage of it the way they did, was spectacular. And again, the touchdown that soon follows to Logan Thomas. Kareem Jackson, if you're going to play football where you knock an opposing player out every week with a dirty hit, you shouldn't be allowed to play pro football. So I guess I'm wedging this one in as a bonus of 10 observations. The NFL not suspending Kareem Jackson is a joke. An absolute joke. Because you cannot consistently knock guys out. And he's done it on late, dirty, illegal hits 2 weeks in a row. But Jamin, playmaker, love to see it.
Number 6.
Speaking of playmakers, you want your defensive line to set the tone, especially on this team where that's your best position group. And the tone they set in the first half was, we are going to get our butts kicked today. And they got driven on the first, second, and the third drives for Denver with no resistance, no plays. And they played better, obviously, towards the end of the first half. And then they came out in the second and they said, this is enough. We've had enough. We're not doing this anymore. And it started with Daron Payne making 3 straight bona fide all-pro plays to start the second half. That was a one-man wrecking crew 3 and out. You don't see that more than 5 times a year across the whole league. I mean, he's playing at a level that you go, I don't know, is he as good as Chris Jones all of a sudden? Is he as good as, what Aaron Donald is now? Not what Aaron Donald was at his peak, because that's the best guy to ever do what Aaron Donald did. But he's doing an Aaron Donald impression, and that's a very good thing, because an Aaron Donald impression is very effective. The quick use of the hands, the speed inside, the pass rush ability, the tackles for loss. Daron has gotten to the point where he might be just as good or better than John Allen, and that's not because John Allen isn't as every bit as good as he has been the entire time. It is just Daron has continued to elevate his game and his ability to just decide it is time for me to dominate and do it is remarkable. Speaking of guys up front dominating.
Number 7.
How about the dream coming true? Chase Young, Montez Sweat come together, meet at the quarterback. It literally happened yesterday. And the way those two push the pocket, and I think we talk about how well James Smith-Williams and Casey Toohill and Efe Obada last year played in that role without Chase Young. And it's like, okay, well, if they're playing so well, what can Chase do that those guys can't? The sack Chase gets on Russell Wilson yesterday, I love James Smith-Williams as a human being. He's a great dude, and I think he's a very good football player. James does not make that play. Chase's pure athleticism and speed to collapse a pocket or to chase down a quarterback running away from him is next level stuff. And there's times where, James was able to push the pocket and the quarterback escapes, and, he might throw the ball out of bounds, and rarely do good things happen in that situation, but it's not a sack. And in that one yesterday, Russ had room to run, and he might have scored, certainly gets the first down, but the way it looked at the time of the tackle. Chase makes a shoestring sack. It's actually a negative play. So are there things to clean up for Chase? Yes. He got way too high a bunch. He was undisciplined in his rush too often for my liking, and I think for Ron Rivera's liking. But the explosiveness is there. The athleticism is there. The knack for playmaking is there. And when it counted in the end of that game, he and Montez made real significant plays and slowed that Denver drive way, way, way down. That should have been enough to win that game easily. Obviously, we'll get to the Hail Mary.
Number 8.
Not yet, though. First, a word on Eric Bieniemy and do not count out Jack Del Rio. EB found a rhythm yesterday, and I thought there was too much passing early. But one thing I'll say, and something I want to ask Bieniemy, either feed it to a reporter to ask who's out there, or I might go out there Thursday myself and ask him, is, are you using some of these early pass plays to get information, to go into some of your spread formations, go into some of your tight formations, put different receivers in the game, do different stuff, and really make the defense play a bunch of coverage so you see what coverages you're getting and you know what to come back to later in the game? Let me front load a lot of pass play calls to get the information, to cook up the shots later in the game when I'm playing more balance, but knowing what you're going to do coverage-wise. Because that seems like it's what's happening, and he finds that balance in the second half, and just when they insert the balance, they take off. But can they do it if they don't do the pass heavy early? I don't know. 33 dropbacks to 7 rushing attempts is way too many in the first half on the pass attempt side. But it's also hard to argue with the team that scored 35 and had the long snapper not botched a snap, probably would have scored 38. Just simple make or miss difference in a kick. As for Del Rio, comes out in the second half on those plays that Daron Payne makes. They're in Cinco. He gets one-on-ones. He had a couple of really great blitz calls at times throughout the game, including one late where he zone blitzes and drops Montez out, gets Daron Payne isolated on the right tackle, Mike McGlinchey, who had a hellish day, and he just didn't know what to do with him. And Daron gets right in Russell Wilson's face. Just really exceptional use of pressure, not just when, but which pressures he's using. Del Rio, it's not his fault they blew coverage early, but it is his credit that they did not panic. And that's the other thing I want to say about Jack real quick. Jack has been there, done that, and I have no doubt he's walking down the sideline, cool as a cucumber when they're down 21-3 going, man, it's a long football game. Got to play better, but it's a long football game, and there's something to that from the demeanor of a head coach. All right, last but not least, or two last things but not least.
Number 9.
Let's talk about the bad stuff real quick and what was not a perfect game. I hate the decision by Rivera to try the 59-yard field goal. Your defense is cooking. You have the best punter in the league. Just punt the football there. And that really let Denver back into it when it should have been, hey, if you're going to beat us by driving 90 yards when we're up double digits, go ahead. But we're going to make you drive 90 yards. Hated that. And then I put the Cameron Cheeseman stuff on Rivera. Like, you've had chances. You've been asked about it. You're aware of it. You told me to my face, not that it's about me, but like you said to someone, it happened to be me, in Baltimore, if he has another bad snap in this game, we're going to have to look at it. He did. You didn't do anything about it, and it could have cost you dearly, dearly yesterday. Don't wait until the bad thing happens when you can see it coming. Don't stand in the middle of the tracks wondering what that bright light is. Get out of the way of the train. It's a long snapper, man. Just make the move. They're gonna work out some guys this week, so we'll see. And then
number 10.
I don't need to do a long diatribe here. Hail Mary, knock it down. There's a reason you knock it down, and the key word there is not knock, it is down. You have to volleyball spike it, not literally, more volleyball block the ball down. That way it hits the ground and it doesn't pop up. Don't try to catch it. Don't try to do anything other than make sure that the ball hits the ground. Escort it nicely to the ground. Escort it meanly to the ground. Beat it up. Punch it. Whatever you got to do. Just make sure the ball does not go backwards. Just a brutal job, and it's the second one they've given up in 2 years. The one they did last year was the end of a first half, and that's something you need to work on. Not great. But winning is great. 35-33 the final. That is 1st and 10. When we get back here on the Hoffman Show, our first reactions from last night, we are, in this case, being myself and Logan Paulson, a Take Command preview for you, or not preview, a Take Command analysis hit for you next here on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, and always live as well on the free Odyssey. the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. I am Craig Hoffman, not only host of this show, but host of the Take Command podcast, which thousands of you watched live stream last night. Our post-game show, which you can catch somewhere between 90 minutes, 2 hours after the end of the game. That's why you subscribe to the Team 980 on YouTube. We live stream it there. Most full episodes are over on 106.7 The Fan's YouTube page. So you should subscribe there as well. And on that show, we reacted to the game, still basking in the glory of the final whistle. And we wanted to give you just some of that here on the radio. So without further ado, here was the offensive breakdown from last night from me and Logan Paulson.
It's time to take command with former NFL tight end Logan Paulson and former Commanders beat reporter Craig Hoffman.
What's up? What's happening? Welcome in. Take command. That is Logan Paulson. I am Craig Hoffman. What a game. What a freaking game, Logan. We did 3.5 hours of radio this morning leading into that 3.5 hour football game. And we could probably talking about it for 3.5 more hours if we didn't want our wives to divorce us. So we'll stick to just a half hour here as we wrap up this game. And what a game it was. Commanders 35, Broncos 33, a Hail Mary at the end, successful, a 2-point conversion. Don't look at Benjamin St. Houston where his other hand was. That was not, but ultimately a win for Washington that shows heart, grit, but also two words that keep coming to mind for me, Logan, are resilience and maturity.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. I think, someone said, I got a text from a buddy right after the game, and he was like, shout out to Doug, by the way. But he was like,
what's up, Doug?
yeah, and he was like, I don't know how to feel about this. And, I don't know, he's like, I feel like a better team would exploit some of the weaknesses and blah, blah, blah. And I totally get where he's coming from with that. But I'm also like the resilience and the maturity of this team. Like those two words you just said have been in my brain since the Logan Thomas touchdown. That is something that doesn't happen to this team in years past. They don't have that resiliency. They don't have that maturity. They don't have the courage to kind of go out and battle for four quarters, even though everything's kind of tilted against them. I don't know if that's coaching. I don't know what that is. I definitely think coaching, EB's presence has definitely played a huge role in that. The conditioning also, I think, is a huge factor. But yeah, I look at that and I say, I'm in total agreement with you. This is something that is very unique. It feels very unique. And obviously it's 2 games, long season ahead. But I think this is a huge character kind of defining moment or establishing moment for this team. And it's something that, again, when I was playing, I didn't really feel it when I was here. And since covering the team, I didn't feel it. And this is going to be a big deal and something that pays dividends for them moving forward for sure.
I think there's so many places you can point. You have to give credit to the head coach. There's other things about this game that specifically the decision to, as he is poking over your left shoulder there, not address the long snapping situation.
Oh, yeah,
before that, there's nothing to sweat about if there's an extra field goal on the board.
Yeah.
I think there's a coaching decision in the middle of that second half where he decides to try the 59-yarder instead of punting. I don't like either of those decisions. But when it comes to the character of the team, it obviously starts with the head coach. It then goes to Eric Bieniemy for sure. His impact on this team is massive. The leadership of guys. Yeah, Jack as well. I think that his steady demeanor, I can imagine Del Rio after they're down 21-3, just going to his guys and going, long football game, boys. Been around this thing a long time. And so, yeah, absolutely with Del Rio. I think the leadership of Allen and McLaurin, obviously the character and kind of the demeanor of those two men, certainly. But I also think that Sam Howell has a lot to do
100%.
with this. And not just because he is the quarterback, doing the physical quarterbacking, but he is so steady. And there's, I think, a lot of great stuff from him in this game. I think there's a lot of the stuff where you're like, dude, you got to start that's, I don't want to say you want to start cleaning up. It's his 3rd career start. Let me self-edit there. But the stuff where you're like, that's young quarterback stuff. If he doesn't get better at that stuff, I don't know how long his career will be as a starter in the league. Some of the footwork and the timing and some of the things that get off kilter a little bit. But from a mentality and a demeanor standpoint, from a belief standpoint, I think he has a massive role to play in this. And I don't think that's overstating it, even though he is just a 3-game starter now in the NFL.
Yeah, I was talking to B-Mitch about this on the postgame show, and it's like when you've got that quarterback who's just like the leader of the group, I felt like this with a little bit with like Matt Ryan, a little bit with Deshaun Watson. Like there's like this calm composure. Like the world it seems like the world could be on fire for those guys, and they are just like, you look to them and like, oh, he's good, like we're good. You know what I'm saying? And I think Sam has a little bit of that. Like you hear it in his press conferences, you hear it. Kind of the way guys talk about him on the field, like you see it in his demeanor. Like I never really felt like the body language got bad. He just was like, we're out here, we're gonna just keep chopping wood. And I think there's a lot of value to that. And I think there's that's special. That's a special person to do that. And again, it's not just him, it's not just the coaches, it's everything. And like I just think like that Jamin Davis forced fumble. Like how many times have we seen someone make a play and then nothing happens off of it? Nothing happens because of it. And then they go down, and then Logan Thomas makes maybe the catch of the year, like unconscious holding onto the football. And like they do something with it. They get the 2-point conversion. They did everything that they set out to do. And all of a sudden, it's not just the fumble. It's not just the catch. It's not just the 2-point conversion. It's all those things coming together and a belief in the offense. And then it creates a belief in the defense. It creates an energy and a momentum. And I know PFF and all these analytic nerds, like they get freaked out about the word momentum because it's not a quantifiable thing.
Yeah.
In this game, like you see it, you see what's going on there. And like, having played and been in those situations, like you feel like you're in a dark pit when it's 21-3 and you're like, there's nothing we can do to get out of it. And then slowly the light starts to creep in and you're like, okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe we can get out of here. And then again, you can't quantify it. You can't talk about it. But to get those 3 plays in succession, in terms of sequence of the game,
right,
in conjunction with the leadership, I'm just telling you from having been in those situations a lot as a player, and it's incredibly challenging to see that turn the way it did. And it just, again, it speaks to something. I don't know what it is, and if I did know what it was, I'd be making a ton of money coaching. But like there is something there that is very special.
Without question. And like I laugh because, we both love PFF and the numbers and the data. And like it's incredibly valuable as a resource. But if you think momentum isn't real, you've never played sports. And if you think like being in the zone isn't real, you've never played sports. If I can get in the zone a couple of times of my life shooting threes in a pickup game, I can't imagine what it feels like to be Steph Curry when the basket feels like the Pacific Ocean. Right. So like, that stuff is real. And it is a combination. Like eventually maybe some other nerds will be able to quantify it in terms of, the emotional, like mix of adrenaline and nerves. And I don't know, there's probably like some hormonal stuff that happens. Like the inner chemistry of the human body is pretty freaking wild. That's for a different podcast. But like, there's no doubt that stuff in some form or fashion combines into being in the zone and self-belief and like that ability to perform at a higher level. A couple of other things that you hit on there, and then I want to kind of wrap up on how Kareem Jackson can get suspended for a game, at least in my book. That hit on Logan Thomas is so dirty, and he's now done it 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, did you do it last week as well?
Yeah, he was flagged for, I think he's the one who knocked out Jacoby Myers last week. Late in that game. And so, like if you are going to play, football is a violent game. Is a collision sport, not a contact sport. That's all fine. But there is a respect of humanity and people's health and well-being that I think you should just like is part of being a pro. And if you're going to play like that, you don't belong in the pros. You're not a pro. And so suspend him.
And so I'm like a little bit, old school blue collar, like, the targeting stuff. I think it's valuable. I think it's important. But that was beyond anything. That was just an unsafe play from start to finish. Like, I don't know. Like you might have closed.
He's thinking, I got to separate man from ball. No, you don't. You lost the rep. You're separating man from consciousness. Don't do that.
But also, like your eyes are closed then, because if I'm trying to separate you from the ball, I'm trying to strike the football. I'm not trying to hit you with my shoulder pad and helmet. And like while I'm turning, it was unsafe for him. It was unsafe for him. It was unsafe for Logan. And I agree with you. Like, and again, I'm a little bit. I'm always apologetic towards the defender in these situations. Most of the time, that felt different. You know what I mean?
He launched. It was helmet. It was egregiously late. It was dirty.
And for his own safety, man, he's going to hurt himself if he's not being careful there. So I agree with you. That was a pretty intense. I haven't seen a hit like that in a very long time. And so hopefully Logan Thomas is okay. He looks like he's okay. And I agree, like there needs to be some type of some punishment for that, I think. So
yeah, without question. As for Hal himself, was it 30 times in the first half?
Yeah.
That's nuts. Way more efficient, obviously, in the second. That tends to happen when you don't throw it 30 times.
Yep.
But you see some of the special arm talent. I think you do see of the hurried up, like he's patting the ball in the pocket. Like you made a great point throughout the week on the podcast. There's no progression. There's no footwork that calls for patting the ball twice in the pocket. Yeah. So you definitely saw, especially in the first half, some of that. But what do you make of his ability to just keep at it and make some of these big time major throws, including obviously the showcase is the touchdown to Terry?
Yeah, man. I mean, like it's like we were talking about this on the pregame. And you know, I've talked about this. Like he's learning the process, right? Like the more exposure he has to NFL defenses, the more he's going to understand like where the ball needs to go. Like I always think back to Tom Brady, like the stories I've heard about Tom Brady, about him based on the coverage, kind of not predetermining, but having a notion of where the ball should go and how long it should take the ball to get there. And I think that is something that just comes with experience, you know, like living to play another day, living to fight another down, and understanding when that clock goes off. Like it gives me anxiety as a guy who was a former pass protector and as a guy who coaches offensive line, to see him back there and know the ball needs to be out and be feeling it. And and like the seconds ticking by, it's not actual seconds, but you know, like the 1.5 seconds extra that he's in there. I'm just like, that needs to be expedited a little bit, you know? And I think some of that's play calling. I think some of it also comes off of, you know, I think EB is in this state where he's thinking a lot about Kansas City. And I think it's not a coincidence that the offense gets a little bit more effective when you're running the football. And I know there's a lot of people that from an analytics perspective would say you should never run the football because there's no added value. But my point here is that like it just limits some of the big decisions for the quarterback, right? Especially when you're being semi-effective with it. You're just limiting the quarterback's decision-making processes, right? Like we watched that Atlanta game today with Desmond Ridder, and like he doesn't have to throw the ball a whole bunch, you know? And so when he does and he can kind of put himself out there and be leveraged and make those nice throws, it's because he's kind of built up a stability in the offense that comes from running the football. And I think you saw that a little bit in the second half, not entirely, but a little bit in the second half. You saw the screen game come alive. Again, they are not pushing the ball down the field. They're getting the ball out of his hand. They're running the football better. They find easy throws. And then when it's time, and Sam knows we're calling this drop back pass, I can pat the ball twice. The defensive line's fatigued. They don't have their ears back the same way, and it just allows for a more effective, productive second half, I think. And you know, it'll be really. I think that's something I'm really excited to do is like watch the all 22 and be like, you know, what is real and what's just my perception coming out of the game.
What anyone who says that you should never run the football is
the math says don't. Well, you know what I'm saying?
It doesn't though. Like that's the thing is like the results say that because the EPA and the yards per play and any number you look at is better on pass plays than run plays, but it takes away the impact that running the football has on passing the football. Like there's a schematic impact that you have when you have to respect the run that opens up larger windows. And it also goes to the fact that if you tell me to succeed in my task, I have to make 45 correct decisions and any one that's incorrect could totally change my fortunes, or I have to make 25. Give me the task that's 25. And that's exactly what you're talking about, because the dramatic change of an interception or a sack fumble like we saw last week, like those are massive plays that typically don't come in the run game. Even if you turn it over in the run game, it's like a squirt on the pile and everybody falls on it and the ball's dead where it is. And that sucks, but you know, it happens less often than an interception. Like fumble percentages are lower than interception percentages. Sure. So you know, there is a mitigation of risk and also making the job easier and allowing for mental clarity of the quarterback that comes with running the football. And it also, those numbers do not reflect something that you could talk about far better than me, but that offensive linemen prefer going forward compared to backwards. Like if you are an offensive lineman and you get to fire off the ball and hit someone, that's way better than getting back in your pass protection stance and having someone run into you. Especially if a guy's going to just bull rush you all game and run into your face. Like that doesn't sound very fun. So I think in the second half, you see that, and you see by the end of the game how worn down Denver is. You see Brian Robinson start to gash you, and then you also get the efficacy of something like the screen game, like that screen to Gibson and the one to Robinson. There's two big ones in the game. Big one. Like those things get out because Denver doesn't know which way is up. They're run here, pass there. If we play up, they run it. We play back, they run it. If we play up, they throw it over our heads. Like EB got into a rhythm in this game, and considering they are literally childhood friends, that is no way to treat your friend the way EB has treated Vance Joseph over the years. And he had his number again today with Howell, and they put up 35. But a lot of that obviously does come. I mean, I think you made a great point. We were texting. It starts with a 2-minute. I mean, obviously, it kind of starts with the Logan Thomas touchdown, but that 2-minute drive they put together at the end of the half, that honey hole shot to John Bates on the sideline,
crazy.
What a throw! But really, from that point on, Bieniemy was just in a rhythm, and it comes with that balance to keep Denver off balance, and it opens up the big stuff that results in pass plays having a better EPA than run game or your run plays by the end of it. Yeah,
and it's interesting because I don't think the offense was poor to start. I think they moved the ball pretty effectively on the first 2 drives. They just didn't finish the way they needed to finish, which is tough because, like, I've been a part of offenses. I think the offense in 2010 and 2011 with Kyle at the helm here when I was in Washington was, I think, the most productive offense from a yardage standpoint, or top 4, but we were like 25th in points. So that, obviously that dynamic changes from an offensive efficiency standpoint. And you saw that in the game. The other thing I'm really excited to go back and look at is like what kind of coverage structures Denver was playing, because it seemed like they were playing not man, but some softer coverage structures that were causing Sam to hold the football. And usually when you're doing that, you've got like, split safety look, you're playing Tampa 2, you're playing cover 3 with a lurk guy, and the coverage structures are clouding windows. And I kind of wonder if, like, when they start running the football, Vance Joseph says, shoot, we can't have them gashing us like this. Let's commit more resources to stopping the run, and let's get out of some of these better coverage personnels. And then that opens up some of the passing game. And I don't know. We won't know that for sure until we watch the All-22. But I do think that's another thing that could have potentially impacted the effectiveness of the offense in the second half. So, again, like, great performance by EB, in terms of calling and changing stuff. But I also, like, the whole group was incredibly resilient. The offensive line, man, faced a ton of adversity early. And they looked awesome in the second half of that game. And so kudos to that group, and B-Rob running the way he did, the screen. It was so nice to see Gibson catch that screen. Nick Gates getting out with the little bump, on the rat killer, they call those guys. So killing those rats because, pursuit kills screens. And so preventing that was awesome. So, yeah, like, there's just so many positive elements coming out of that from an offensive perspective. And then, we'll probably talk about this in a minute, but to see them be supported by the defense was I mean, it really was such an impressive game to watch. And I can't remember, since I've been covering the team, so for like 3 years now, seeing a game ever like this where there was so much adversity early and then they were able to overcome it. I mean, how many times have you watched a game here and it just, they're down by 2 scores and they're never really back into it? What was the other time?
There's one, and Spiro mentioned it on the broadcast. It's the You Like That game. It's It's 2015 Tampa, which was also before it was the You Like That game. It was the Code Red game because Gruden had said during the week it's Code Red. And then they were down 24-3, I think. Like, it was bad. And like the last score before they turned it around was like a Cousins sack fumble return for touchdown. Wow. And I remember being in the press box writing my post-game column about how not just the game was over, but the season was over. And like Gruden was going to get fired. And then they won because Jordan Reed lost his mind. And also Tampa lost their minds because they just stopped covering him. That's the only time. I mean, that's the last time they came back from this kind of deficit, as my guy Spirodita said on the CBS broadcast. And that's it. Like, other than that, you're right. And it was funny. I got a text from one of my buddies during the game, and he was like, "Oh, is Logan going to tell us the offensive line played well in this one too?" And this was later in the game, and I was like, "Are you watching the second half?" Like, they turned it on, and that's what you like to see, the growth during a game, the ability to adapt and adjust during a game. Obviously, they'd like faster starts. That would be great.
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
But I think you said that well. Of like, they actually moved the ball pretty well early. They didn't finish. Then they figured out how to finish, and you keep grinding. And last week my big takeaway is, hey, 60-minute football game, and in many ways, in very different aspects, that was the takeaway from this week as well. All right, that was from Take Command, which, of course, you can subscribe to anywhere you get your podcast. Anthony, we missed you yesterday on the pregame show. I thought, what happened to coming by, bro? Your mic's not on?
It should be on now.
Now it is.
But yeah, my football games yesterday didn't end until about 2 2:30,
Mm.
and I was a little tired, and then I would have had to, try to get home, and it was just a lot.
I had some people asking about you.
I
Popular
apologize.
man of the people, or man popular amongst the people. But there's always next week.
I won't be there next week.
Okay, what about the week after that?
I won't be there next week that week either.
Oh.
Now the week after, that's a Thursday nighter against the Bears.
Yeah. You'll be there for pregame on that one because we'll be doing it right here. I think.
Yep.
We're not going to MGM for that, are we?
I doubt it.
All right, I'm going to go ask CK.
I don't know. We might have to check into that.
Yeah, we're going to have to go check into that. We're going to go check in on that. Then that's going to happen while we play a commercial break. Then we're going to come back. Michael Phillips is going to join us. I was on his show this morning. I just come on our show now because that's what we do on Mondays. So Michael Phillips next here on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the Free Auto. Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And it is a Monday at 5 o'clock. You know, every day at 5 o'clock, we talk to an expert who is there covering the top story of the day. Of course, on a Monday following a Commanders game, that is our top story. And every Monday during the season, we welcome in our pal Michael Phillips.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not my beat.
And for the first time, this will be the back half of a home and home. I was on your show earlier. Now you get to return the favor. And as we said on your show, Michael, since you converted from reporter, print journalist to radio host, the Commanders are undefeated. So what took you so long?
And not only that, Josh Harris has received a game ball or given a game ball after every single game. So I'm beginning to think the two of us are intertwined in some way. I'm not entirely sure. We'll figure this out. It's either me or him. It's one of the two.
I mean, you were around much longer. That guy just showed up, and he had to pay a lot of money to be here. Yours was based off skill and merit.
And I don't have to pay to be here. This is a free appearance on Not My Beat. So,
in fact, I just meant like
laughing now.
Here in general, the grander here, if you will, not here on the show. I don't know if we'd have to pay, we can't pay him to be on the show. That'd be anti-journalistic. We're not doing that. I mean, the larger people get it. Okay. Michael Phillips. Yeah, Michael Phillips is with us here on the Hoffman Show. Okay, so I want to start at the end. As someone who did cover this team and was at so many of the games and has seen all kinds of silliness and heartbreak and chaos and creative ways to lose football games, when the Hail Mary gets completed, what's going through your head?
That exactly. Like, oh my gosh, they've spent 9 months trying to convince us things are different, and they're not actually different. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. This is freaking unbelievable. They're definitely going to win now. Yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to tell you I knew they'd play good defense on the 2-point conversion. I thought this is the most Commanders, Dan Snyder, cursed franchise outcome available. They outplay a good Broncos roster for the better part of 60 minutes and then lose on this stupid play.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, Michael. I was like, they're going to be fine on the 2-point conversion or they're going to go win it in overtime. I don't know why I felt that way, but I did. and then they did. Thanks to the referees for not paying attention to Benjamin St. Juste's other hand, you know?
I'll say this, though. He played it perfectly. That's exactly what you want, because what's the worst-case scenario there? They throw the flag, you do it again. And you know what you're going to do on the next one? You're going to mug the guy again. You're going to do it until they prove they can get a clean look at it. He played it correctly, and look, you mentioned I've covered the team for a while. I've covered the team long enough to know these things even out. They've gone the other way as well.
That is 100% true. And I think at this point, all the fans driving around the Beltway listening are going, all right, give us another 24 years of calls and it'll even out just fine. Michael Phillips is with us. MP on the mic is every single weekday now, 10 to noon on 910 The Fan in Richmond, which you can, of course, listen to on the free Odyssey app. You say they play, like last week when you were on, you did not mince words. You were not very impressed. They beat Arizona, and you did not think Arizona was very good. You just said they beat a good Broncos team. So how does your kind of temperature of the team feel at this week compared to where it was a week ago?
You know, I love what Sam Howell and Eric Bieniemy brought to the table yesterday. I won't mince words. Sam Howell played really well. Like, he could be a starter in this league good. There were mistakes. There were things to clean up. We all saw it. Eric Bieniemy played. He could be a play caller full-time in this league good. He called a great game. He was in the right spots. There were things he has to clean up, and certainly, you know, we always dive into that. We do the whole game. But on the whole, Sam Howell and Eric Bieniemy, two guys who are new to their positions this year, full-time play caller, full-time starting quarterback, both played as if they belonged in this league. And I think if you pulled the league this morning and you showed them the 3 games of Sam Howell tape, a lot of teams in this league would say, dang, we should have drafted that kid.
What do you think the league missed, that you're at a point where you're like, yes, this kid's probably going to be pretty good?
Well, I think one evens out the other, right? Because with Sam Howell, the decision-making still isn't fully there, right? And that's the worry. That's why I'm not going to go crazy and tell you they're going to beat the Bills. I don't think they're going to beat the Bills on Sunday. I'm not, going to that effusive level of these guys against the world, they can take on anybody. The decision-making still not fully 100% there. And look, that's a scary thing for a quarterback, right? You want a quarterback that will be decisive, will hit the reads right away, knows what to do, because the mistakes can be very costly. And that's part of what I loved about Sam Howell's game yesterday, 0 interceptions, right? So he probably cost them 3 points by taking the 11-yard sack on a third down that turns into a 59-yard field goal. That's not good. That's 3 off the board. But that was really about it in my wow, that was a glaring negative column. We got to go to the nitpick level next. That's really the only one where I say dang, that kid wants that one back because it directly cost this team points on the scoreboard. If he can keep reducing that, obviously he's in a very good position to succeed as a pro. The other thing people missed is he had that bad year in North Carolina, his second year, after he was projected to go so high. He didn't have a good roster around him, and they have largely fixed that here. He has a good roster around him. The skill position players did their jobs and did them at a very high level yesterday. I promise you, we didn't have anybody in North Carolina who could have made that catch that Terry McLaurin made.
No, certainly not against NFL defenders. He did get De'Ami Brown a couple of catches yesterday, though, and he was together at North Carolina, so that's nice. But they have done a really good job of obviously building the skill positions around him. And, oh, by the way, his OC is pretty good. You phrased the question to me. I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember the exact wording, but it was basically this morning you're like, it seems like Eric Bieniemy was the guy that was perfect to be here. Why do you feel that way? I'm guessing you do, since you asked me the question of whether I agreed with it.
Look, this is a team, and I've said this a million times. I'll say this again. This is a team that was one game out of the playoffs each of the last 2 years, one game away from making the postseason. And as you know, seasons are judged differently, whether you make the playoffs or not, even if it's a cheapie. If you make the playoffs, your season is judged, and certainly for a franchise of this caliber that's been wandering through the wilderness for so long, your season is generally dubbed a success. They were one game away from their season being a success each of the last 2 years. So you don't do a lot this offseason. You just kind of nip and tuck at the edges. You make one really big change in my mind. You change offensive coordinators. You go from Scott Turner to Eric Bieniemy. And I think Ron Rivera was counting on that to be at least a one-game lift. And I'll tell you what, yesterday was that game. Scott Turner doesn't win that game yesterday. I say that with a decent amount of confidence, just watching what we watched for the last few years, watching the way he handled being down 21-3, handled the weapons, handled the players. He doesn't win that game yesterday. Eric Bieniemy did win that game yesterday. Look, it's a moving parts league. You can say, hey, Sam Howell's different than Taylor Heineke. Yes, I don't know that Taylor Heineke and Eric Bieniemy together win that game yesterday. That might not have happened either. So it's a package deal. It's hard to separate the two. But you bring the guy in to lift you to be one game better. And he did that yesterday. In game 2 of the season, you saw what he's here for.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Michael Phillips is with us here on the Hoffman Show. Of course, MP on the mic, 10 to noon weekdays on 910 The Fan in Richmond. So the other thing with Bieniemy that we talked about all summer long that I think I didn't really fully understand at the time how important it would be is the conditioning element of him coming in and changing the way they practice and all that kind of stuff. And I want to kind of go back to your days covering whether it was Turner or Gruden or Shanahan or anybody else that you covered over your time on the beat. And did you ever, I guess the question really is, Michael, did you ever cover a team and be like, this team is out of shape? Or do you look back now and see what they're doing Bieniemy week in, week out, and how sharp and crisp they are late in games and go, wow, I never realized that was such a big factor? And do you agree that it's a big factor?
I definitely agree it's a big factor. He definitely brought it from Andy Reid from the Chiefs, and Andy Reid notoriously runs a very hard training camp to get his players ready for the season. I definitely saw many teams where I thought this is a terrible way to get ready for the season, and we saw a lot of lost openers along the way as well. I mean, the most famous, we'll keep bringing it up till the day we die probably, was the joint practices with the New England Patriots when Jay Gruden was coach, and just the crispness they ran at, the efficiency they ran at. And it was just so clear, these guys aren't in that league. These guys play NFL football, and there's talented guys here, but they don't operate at that level. There's it's not happening for them. The definitive story from those practices was after the practice was over, the Patriots players by themselves took it upon themselves to do 2 laps around the field. It wasn't coach led. The players all just ran 2 laps around the field before coming into the locker rooms. And as the Redskins players are watching that, RG3 grabs a few guys. He's like, let's do that too. And yeah, we do that too. But it was very clear they had never done that before. They were just like, oh, they're running laps. We'll run laps too. They were imitating. And it does feel more like, hey, this is the real deal. This is a guy who has seen these programs, executed these programs. And look, ask Minnesota how they feel about a light off season right now. It's, these games start mattering really quickly. I still think Minnesota will make the playoffs, but they're 0-2 right now. If they had a light off season, it puts you in a tight spot a lot sooner than you think it will.
Michael Phillips with us here on the Hoffman Show. All right, to the defensive side of the ball. What happened the first quarter and a half, and then we can get to the good stuff? And credit to Denver. It was a solid game plan, and they did pick these guys apart a little bit. I'm struggling to put my head around this too, how a team could be that efficient and that physical and then regress from that quickly because they did. And I think they had a good scheme. I think they ran good plays, but you would agree with me, I think, in the first quarter and a half, they were the more physical team too. Yeah, they were just wrecking the Commanders' D-line. The lack of resistance on especially that first drive. The second drive was like a passer or a roughing the passer and then a touchdown. So there wasn't really a whole lot there. But that first drive, they just ran it right down their throats. It was crazy. What is this if this is how it is with Chase, we're gonna have to get out of here. And I don't think this is Chase's fault, at least all of it.
No, I can't make sense of it because it doesn't compute. This is a team that is used to pushing the opponents around, and they totally got pushed around, and I'm glad they righted the ship, and that's not the story we're talking about today because, it would be a pretty bleak Monday, but it was a little jarring to see, there was the Lions game last year, right, where, all the feel-good vibes after week 1, and then they go and lose to the Lions by getting blown out early. But even though the Lions were just completing long passes on this secondary, which we knew was a weakness, the Broncos were legit just pushing these guys around. It was very jarring to watch.
Yeah, and then they weren't. And then all of a sudden, Daron Payne basically went, I have had enough of this bleep, and we're going to do things differently. Second half, totally different story. Let's talk about kind of where the good part ends. Obviously, the Hail Mary is not on the defensive front, but I thought in the second half, all the way down, even when Denver scored and gets that field goal drive, the defensive line was fantastic, and Chase just kept getting better and better. What did you make of 99 in his season debut, and how do you project him forward this season? Yeah,
before we get to him, Daron Payne had a literal 3-and-out by himself.
Right.
Sometimes you analyze this at a really high level, and I love your stuff, Logan, where you guys break it down. Here's my role. I'm just here to tell you, Daron Payne had a 3-and-out by himself. One human being forced an entire NFL offense to give up the ball in 3 plays. That's like in baseball, striking out the side, right? It just doesn't happen that often.
Right. To be clear, on that series, you and I could have replaced Cam Curl and Derek Forrest, and it would not have mattered one iota.
No, it didn't matter who else was out there. He just made 3 plays by himself. All right, fine, I'll do this. We're going to get the ball back now. I'm like, who does that? Who does that in the NFL? That's insane. I loved watching that. That was my favorite part of the game. Chase Young played a lot more than I thought he would. So let's start there, which indicates that there was some level of trust there, maybe a level of desperation, but I think some level of trust. There was a lot of rust. There were, thankfully he got the sack and a half, so people can talk about that. Terry McLaurin was hyping him up in the locker room after the game was the reporting. So, that was good to see. The teammates responded to him being back out there and appreciated him being back out there. There was a ton of rust, though. There was a ton of everything that's annoyed Jack Del Rio for the last 3 years about him. The overshooting the play and kind of not being exactly where he needed to be. There were the penalties. Look, I'm not going to tell you Chase grades out great from this, but I think it was a real lift for everybody involved that he was out there and that he brought his presence to the table.
Well, I think the thing, though, is, Michael, it was a reminder of what it is when we talk about if he can be a better, more impactful version of what James and Casey and F.A. last year have brought, of like what that actually looks like. Because while I love James Smith-Williams and think he's done a fantastic job setting up those other three guys, James does not chase down Russell Wilson from the backside and make that shoestring tackle late in that game. And it's those kinds of plays and the knack for making them that I think elevates Chase and could theoretically elevate this defense if he can clean up the other stuff that would bring it down far more than any single play could elevate it.
Yeah, and he is a one-man game changer who can do things like that. And partially because of that, I grade him on the tougher curve, right? So I was saying today, I think one of my takeaways from yesterday, one, he played really well, and two is I just don't know that his future's here, and I still don't think that after this. I just think because he was the number 2 pick, because there was so much hype, because there was so much everything behind it, he's got to play at this insane all-pro level to live up to that and justify that and stay here. And he played great yesterday and had some great moments. But I also have this melancholy back in my head thought it definitely wasn't enough to get him back here next year. I think his future's probably still elsewhere.
Well, the other problem for him staying here is that Montez Sweat is just taking it to another level. He also had a sack and a half yesterday, and he has now 3 in 2 games, and he does rush with incredible discipline and has great chemistry with Payne and Allen and all of that stuff. He drops out into coverage on a couple of plays yesterday and throws Russell Wilson for a loop. He's comfortable doing that stuff because he's such a freakish athlete. And I still am of the belief that Chase Young is going to make a lot of money next year, but the reason it won't be here won't be because his performance. It will be because Montez Sweat is the better bet moving forward and is just a better football player, even if Chase on given weeks is going to be better and make really special plays.
Yeah, and I hope that 3 years from now, when he's dominating for some other team, the storyline here isn't he's the one that got away, but just, hey, this was best for both sides, the fresh start. And I'll be rooting for that kid wherever he ends up, and I'll be rooting for him the rest of the season to keep making those shoestring tackles because football's more fun when Chase Young's playing.
No doubt. And I still think there might be a world where they bring everybody back. And by the way, that world is going to be heavily influenced by Sam Howell being their quarterback and not costing them any money the next couple of years. If they can get Howell to be the quarterback for as long as Allen is under contract, then I think I think Ron will push to bring all 4 guys back. As in, John and Duran are already under contract, and Sweat to re-sign, and Chase at least for another year, because they could sign one and franchise the other, and then you figure it out next year. But this is the kind of stuff that if they have a great year and great benefit, I think it's actually, it's too early to push Chase out the door. Obviously, it's week 2, we should enjoy the season, like you said. We're rooting for him to make plays no matter what his future is. But this is the benefit of having Sam Howell at quarterback. If this works out, is financially you can afford stuff that you under no other circumstance should be able to afford.
Oh, no question. And I think we're trending closer to a Montez Sweat return being a certainty here with every week. That dude's playing, to borrow the Jamin Davis phrase, that dude's playing with his hair on fire. I mean, he's playing great ball. And I think that, Ron talked this offseason about letting Duran's contract kind of be a guide to these other guys that will take care of you once you take care of business. Watching Duran continue to play great football even after the contract is only more affirming that it's the right thing to do to keep your stars here on big deals.
No doubt about it. Michael Phillips is with us each and every Monday here on the Hoffman Show, and he's with you from 910 The Fan in Richmond, 10 a.m. to noon, weekdays, which you can also, of course, listen to on the free Odyssey app. Phillips, thank you, sir. Talk to you next week. Appreciate the home and home, and serves back in your court.
I think on aggregate goals it was a tie, and we'll continue this next week.
Excellent. Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you, sir. Have a good rest of your week.
You too.
That's Michael Phillips, everybody. When we get back, Anthony and I go around the NFL. A wild, wild day of NFL action. Our Pick 6 at 6 coming as well a little later in the show. Let me see. Pick 6 at 6. That'll be at 6 o'clock. So Ron Rivera, you'll hear from him at 6:15. Plenty to go on the Hoffman Show. Don't go anywhere. Here on the Team 980, and, of course, streaming live on YouTube. They get real Icarus-y, to go back to your Greek mythology days. You remember the story of Icarus, Anthony?
Not quite, Frank.
What do they teach you at Georgetown Prep? Icarus, the guy who flies too close to the sun.
Nope.
What do they teach you at Georgetown? Anthony, I think you your job at risk at Georgetown Prep.
Why?
There's no way that they did not teach you the story of Icarus at Georgetown Prep.
We actually did a lot of Greek mythology, but we didn't talk about Icarus flying too close to the sun.
Yes, you did. You don't remember it. I feel very confident. Who can we call
It's okay.
at Prep
I'm
to
ask
confirm
my kids
this?
I mean, I will just do that right now. Actually.
Okay. I would like you to ask someone of authority. Do we teach about Icarus?
Hours later.
Did we ever check in on that, Anthony?
Yeah, my classmates actually texted me and said, "Yeah, we've done it."
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to figure out where you were on that day of class at a later date.
You're right.
Last night, Arina Sabalenka makes the U.S. Open final, the Belarusian player, and here's how it sounded on Belarusian television.
Арина Соболенко! Ваму! Что Арина достойна звания первой ракетки мира.
Yeah.
Получите! Распишитесь!
Oh, yeah.
Rising up, back on the street. Did my time, took my chances. When the distance, now I'm back on my feet. Just a man and his will to survive. So many times it happens too fast.
Oh, keep
You
going.
change your passion for glory. It's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the night. Rising up to the challenge of a rival. And they lost, no survival. Все, ребята, я сдулся.
10 out of 10. No notes. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app and streaming live on YouTube. What's funny now, Anthony, about the way that we're streaming the show, as we've gotten some upgrades in the equipment and all that kind of stuff, is the people on the internet no longer hear any of the music. So when you dance, you're just dancing to air.
Oh, so they didn't hear "Ain't It Fun" by Paramore.
No, which is, I think, hilarious. This copyright law is ruining America. It's actually not. It's very important before anyone comes after us. Because, like, the people on the radio can hear the music and get the vibe, but they can't see you dance. And the people on the internet now don't get the music, but they do get the dance. And I just think that combination is funny.
It definitely is. And dang,
yeah,
I feel like you're missing out. No matter how you're,
there's just
listening to
there's
the
a
show.
piece. We just need to. I don't know. We'd have to get to a point where we can afford to. I don't even know how that works. I don't know if that's something you can buy, licenses to stream commercial music. Anyway, that's very inside baseball. The point is, whether you're watching or listening, most of the show's the same. The first 30 seconds of a segment, slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
Them's the breaks.
Which one would you prefer?
You want to know who the number one person is who doesn't have to choose? Me.
Oh.
I get both.
Well, that too.
Because I have special privileges because I host the show.
Yes.
All right, let's get to it. Around the NFL we go. Week 2 is full of all kinds of surprises, drama, and that's beyond the Washington-Denver game, although that certainly had its fair share. And don't forget, there are 2, count them, 1-2 Monday Night Football games tonight. Saints-Panthers at 7:15, Browns-Steelers at 8:15. I'm on New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Anthony, you are on New Orleans and Cleveland, correct?
Hold on. Here we go. Week 2. Who
Yep.
you're taking?
I got I got New Orleans and Pittsburgh.
Yes, sir.
And then you have New Orleans and Cleveland.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, for pick purposes, we both took Philadelphia on the Thursday nighter last week, so that's 1-0 coming into this.
Mm-hmm.
And then Commanders Broncos, we were both on Washington.
Yes.
Okay, so we're 2-0.
Yep.
Which already has me halfway to your week 2 last year. Let's see if I get any closer. You won 4 games in week 2 last year.
I know. You don't have to remind me, Craig.
I'm just saying that was kind of the story going into the week.
It was.
All right. Thought I would be 3-0 after the Packers-Falcons game.
Yeah.
What a comeback by Atlanta. And unlike the Commanders, that was kind of this dramatic 32-3 gigantic run, and then obviously the chaos at the end, like Atlanta just slowly, methodically kind of chipped their way back. They're down in the second quarter, and all of a sudden it's 10-9. Green Bay scores 14-3, or outscores them 14-3 in the third quarter. And then, they're back in striking range. They are driving. Younghoe Koo, who missed an extra point earlier in the game, which is why it was 10-9 at half, hits the game-winning field goal. And Drake London gets on the board. Bijan Robinson looks incredible. Desmond Ridder just does enough. And even though they're like Green Bay looked really sharp at times in the first half, like Atlanta wins the game. And this is how Atlanta's going to win games this year. They're 2-0.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to get it out the mud. But yeah, I think down the stretch of the game, the Falcons just basically playing the clock as opposed to, trying to score. I think that was what was most, telling for me, just because I guess they're going to have more faith in their defense as opposed to their offense. And again, being able to control the clock, utilize the run game, and capitalize off of that. Hey, kudos to them, man. Kudos to them, because I definitely did not envision them winning this.
Yeah, no, I did not either. Jordan Love, a weird stat line, only has 150 yards passing, but 3 touchdowns, no picks. So weird day, man. Weird day at the office for the Packers. They fall to 1-1. Raiders and Bills. Raiders got down early. Actually, no, sorry, they went up early. Buffalo came back, and then things went real sideways for Las Vegas. Hello to Josh Allen. 274, 3 touchdowns. Gabe Davis, 6 for 92 and a touchdown. 38-point outburst, and all of a sudden, maybe the best game on the NFL schedule next week is Commanders-Bills right here in D.C.
Yeah, I mean, I think we predicted, how this one would go. It does suck to see Devontae leave the game a little early. But, yeah, the Bills went out there. They handled business per usual. And I think Gabe Davis, I want to see him be a little bit more consistent. I think his second year in the league, he burst into the scene a little bit, but he's been quiet as of late.
I mean, that's who he is, though. Like, that's the thing. Is like, there are some guys that will get you 4 catches for 50 yards every week, and that's why they're middle of the road. Then there's other guys that will be 0 one week and 100 the next, and they average the same, but you just don't know. And that drives coaches crazy, but I think that's just who Gabe Davis is. I don't think he's not skilled enough as a route runner and all that kind of stuff, and doesn't really have that deep, thorough understanding of stuff to produce at that level every single week. Otherwise, he would be. I mean, he's still fairly young, but I think you'd see it by now. But some weeks he sees it better and does whatever, and all of a sudden you look up and he's got 6 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Ravens and Bengals. This one was another weird one. Joe Burrow leaves late with the calf after he has a miserable first half, threw for just 84 yards. Much better in the second, but still just a 5.4 yard average on the day. 27 of 41 for 222, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. They only get 59 yards rushing from Mixon, 66 as a team. T. Higgins had a big day, but Jamar Chase can't get going this season. Meanwhile, on the other side, Lamar, 24 of 33, incredibly efficient, 7.2 average compared to Burrow's 5.4. 2 touchdowns, no picks, and he had 54 yards on the ground to go with the 62 and a touch from Gus Edwards. Injury-wise for Baltimore in this one, Odell Beckham leaves with an ankle. He is day-to-day, I believe I saw. But I think we both actually were on Baltimore in this one. Or did you pick Cincy in this one?
Oh, no. Lamar is my guy.
I know.
I have him winning the MVP. I chose the Ravens.
Okay. So did I, though, right?
Yeah, you chose the Ravens as well.
Okay. And, we were both on the Bills, and then we both were wrong. So far, we're even. Is what I'm getting
4-1.
Which is how many games you picked correctly in week 2 last year?
4. Let's see if I get another one.
Damn. Thought this one had it. Lions just consistently putting points up, but unfortunately their defense is kind of messy again. 37-31. They give up a monster second half, 24-point second half to the Seahawks, and then add the 6 in overtime for the win. The game winner going to Tyler Lockett, who had both of Geno Smith's 2 touchdowns. Smith, 328 on the day. Jared Goff, 323 in the loss. But, I mean, you look at the team stats in this one, the yardage that Detroit gives up, man, like, what are you doing? They give up 393 yards. I mean, they put up 418. But they give up 393, and that second half, they just couldn't get a stop when they needed it, which really all they needed was 1.
Yeah, they needed a stop, and I think that's ultimately what's going to be their calling card all this season, trying to get stops on the defensive end. We know offensively they can go out there and, score with the best of them. They have so many weapons, but defensively, the secondaries primarily, the corners, I would say, those are the guys that need the most help. But I will say, Craig, Aiden Hutchinson got held in OT on Geno Smith's touchdown to Tyler Lockett. Like, he was clamoring for it. The sideline was. But, you can't leave the game in the hands of the refs. You got to go out there and make a play in, That call didn't go their way.
You've got to think Aaron Glenn's on thin ice, the defensive coordinator in Detroit. Obviously, great character in Hard Knocks last year. And Dan Campbell loves him, but you can't have this.
Yep.
And this is what cost them last year. Their offense has been great for 2 years running, and they have not been an elite team in the NFL because their defense stinks, and they've got enough talent there that they should be better. And Seattle's got great players, and they're good offensively, but you can't be scoring 31 and losing football games. That's a bad look for your DC, and you got to imagine the leash is going to get real short real quick. Bucks and Bears, man. Okay, I'm done. I'm done believing in Justin Fields. I'm a silly, stupid radio host. How did I do such a dumb thing? I apologize to everyone listening. I apologize to myself. And oh, by the way, Baker Mayfield threw for 300 yards again. In part because he just keeps flinging it to Mike Evans. 6 catches, 171, and the only passing touchdown. 27-17 the final.
Yeah, if I had a guy by the name of Mike Evans on my team, I would throw him the ball as well.
Bold take.
Baker Mayfield's doing what he needs to do. But again, Craig, defensively, they showed up and they showed out. Shout out to Shaq Barrett. He ended up getting, an interception, touchdown, return. And that pretty much helped seal the game for the Bucks. But he was very emotional in his post-game presser. And I want to say after he scored, he blew a kiss up to his late daughter. So that was, very touching. And, shout out to the Bucks going out there starting the season 2-0, baby.
The Bears running just 51 offensive plays. Yikes, man.
It stinks.
16 rushes when Justin Fields is your quarterback. What are you doing? Who's the play caller in Chicago? And why are they still the play caller in Chicago? That's just unacceptable. Fields needs 10 carries a game. Nevertheless, your team's 16. That is brutal.
He called them out yesterday, too.
Fields did?
Yeah, he so basically on Shaq Barrett's interception, it was a screen. They tried to run a screen on the 2-yard line.
This is one that for some reason wasn't on very much in Tap Sports Bar. I guess just there's not a lot of Bucks and Bears fans or otherwise interested parties.
Yeah.
So this is the game that I saw the least of.
Yeah, they tried to throw a screen on the 2-yard line, end up getting intercepted and returned. And they asked him about it in the post game. He was like, you call that play on the 2-yard line, I don't know. I didn't like it. So.
Just how about quarterback power?
Yeah.
Seems like a smart play. Speaking of quarterbacks, you know what they're doing. Chiefs and Jags. Trevor Lawrence didn't look like it yesterday. How about the Chiefs defense stepping up in a major way, holding the potent Jags to 9 points. That's it. 9. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Mahomes figures it out in the second half after a slow start to the game. 29-41, 305. They flashed a graphic at one point that Travis Kelce had 3 targets for 1 catch and 5 yards, and I think he caught a touchdown on the next play. Kelce only 4 for 26, but that touchdown on the day. But Mahomes over 300 yards, and Pacheco had a couple big ones, including a 31-yarder, 12 carries, 70 yards. Kansas City definitely has not looked great through 2 games, but they're at 1-1, and you have to imagine they'll just continue to get better. And look, if their defense is going to be this good, then look out.
Yeah, this was one of those games I definitely thought there were going to be a lot of points scored. And I look up, and it's 7-6 at halftime. I'm like, what's going on? But, a lot of defense in that game. And like you said, Trevor Lawrence did not look like, the guy we saw a week ago. So they're going to have to, figure something out. Calvin really didn't necessarily have a big game. So, yeah, if the Chiefs can neutralize a lot of teams' best players like that, then that could be a recipe for success.
Yeah,
it'll be different.
Yeah, it would be
usually
different.
Mahomes carries, but, if the defense wants to go out there and be my guest.
If they want to make Patrick's life a lot easier, I don't think he'll lose it. By the way, congrats to Patrick Mahomes, who now has the richest contract in NFL history once again. In actuality, he's going to have the most guaranteed money over a 4-year span in NFL history with the way the Chiefs reworked his contract. They announced that earlier today, or at least it was reported by Schefter and others earlier today. So Mahomes now locked up. He's locked up longer than 2026, but the way they restructured it, they've agreed to revisit it at least in 2026, if not sooner. But that kind of resets it. He signed that 10-year deal, and then a bunch of other dudes including Burrow, most recently signed, and all of a sudden he was way down on the average per year list, and the Chiefs and Mahomes came together and said, that doesn't seem very appropriate for the multiple-time MVP and Super Bowl MVP. And so Mahomes' contract gets redone today after their first win of the season yesterday. 31-20 the final for Indianapolis and Houston. Damn. I picked Houston in this one, but the Colts, man, they looked good yesterday. And obviously goes a little bit of a different way than you'd anticipate, because Anthony Richardson, after taking them out to an early lead, gets concussed on his second touchdown and leaves the game. Gardner Minshew comes in a tidy 19 of 23, Anthony, for 171 for Minshew. They also get much, much better production from the running game. 18 carries, 88 yards for Zach Moss as they await the return of Jonathan Taylor.
Yes, sir. Ball security is job security. Zach Moss was able to hold onto the ball. The Colts had no turnovers yesterday, and I think that's ultimately what helped them get the dub. But AR going down with a concussion, that definitely did hurt. He got them out to such a strong start, and they didn't look back, to be honest. And shout out my man Z4, leading tackler in the NFL with 30 and 16 solos. So
yeah, he's got 13 tackles, 8 solo yesterday for Zaire. Led the game, obviously, and as you said, through 2 weeks, leads the league. C.J. Stroud, by the way, 30 of 47 for 384, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. That doesn't seem ideal that they would have him throw the ball 47 times, but they were down early in this one.
Nope.
Is what it is. 49ers and Rams, San Francisco just owns L.A. Stafford did throw for 300 yards, but McCaffrey gets another long one in this game. He scores early in it. Brock Purdy, again, tidy, 17 of 25, 206, no touchdowns, no picks. They get rushing touchdowns each from Purdy, Debo, and McCaffrey on that 51-yarder. And how about this kid it was just like Cooper Kupp 2.0 for LA. Puka Nacua. Did I say that right, Anthony?
Yes, you did.
Puka Nacua. 15 catches, 147 yards on 20 targets. Sean McVay knows it. Like, what if Sean McVay had Justin Jefferson? I mean, I guess we kind of see it with O'Connell. He gets him 15 looks or so a game, but Sean's out here doing it with Puka Nacua.
Hey, I don't know how he's doing it. I have him in fantasy.
Oh, you picked him. I saw you pick him up last week.
Yes, I have him on my bench, I think, though. I didn't need him this week, though. I didn't need him.
I actually don't know how I did. I'm going to look that up real quick.
Tell
us more about Puka Nacua, Anthony.
He's been cooking. Apparently, he set some record for, most receptions through a player's first 2 NFL games. So he's going out there doing his thing. And the fact that the Rams are still competing, I think the 49ers are the best team in football, or at least the NFC East. I mean, the NFC. I think the 49ers are the best team in the NFC. And the Rams went out there and competed without Cooper Kupp, and they had this guy, Puka Nacua, go out there and do what he does best. So I like where the Rams are necessarily positioned right now in terms of, seeing how they stack up against the NFC's best.
Kyron Williams, also a big day. 14 carries, 52 yards, a touchdown, and 6 catches and a passing, including one for a touchdown, 48 yards. And he was on my fantasy bench, Anthony.
That hurts.
So was Daniel Jones. I forgot to. We'll get to what happened with them in a second. I also forgot to bench Aaron Jones when he got hurt.
Ooh.
And
are you winning at least?
I'm still up 19 right now,
okay.
But he's got Watson.
Ooh.
And Olave.
Yep. Well.
So I could be in trouble.
Yep. You will now be 1-1.
I have an 18% win probability. I hope Deshaun Watson has a terrible game because I also always hope Deshaun Watson has a terrible game, but I especially hope it for my own fantasy purposes tonight in our league fantasy, our show fantasy league. All right, back to the actual football. Giants and Cardinals, man. What do you say? They were up 28-3?
Yep.
Something like that. I guess it wasn't 28-3.
Oh no, it's 21-3.
21-3, whatever they were up. It was bad for the Giants. And then old Danny Boy lost his mind. Daniel Jones, 26 of 37, 321, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Saquon, 17 for 63 and a touchdown before he goes out with an ankle injury. By the way, recent reporting, update on that. He's week to week. Daniel Jones then picks up the slack, 9 for 59 on the rush. It's not like they put in Matt Breida and said, hey, man, go run it a bunch. Nope, they were in throw-only mode, and Jones just did it, throwing to Jalen Hyatt and Darius Slayton and Isaiah Hodgins. Paris Campbell had 4 catches in this game. I don't know what you say, man. Hell of a comeback by New York. They have a lot of the same characteristics as Washington. Like, they're resilient and they are mature and they are very well coached. I think for here, a lot of that is Bieniemy related. There, it's Brian Dable. He knows what he's doing, and they believe in him, and they just trust the process. And end of the day, like, yeah, we need to put up 30. Just keep playing. We'll get to 30.
Yeah, and I was talking to Z about this game earlier, and he was basically saying it is so difficult in the NFL to keep a large lead. So if you're up 14, if you're up 20, it is so difficult to maintain that lead. And, the Giants, they went out, fought, clawed, and, end up being able to get the dub in the end.
Not able to get the dub, the New York Jets. Zach Wilson, yikes, man. And by the way, I don't know how much of that is Wilson, because he had his moments. Throwing to Garrett Wilson, you have moments. But I might have been really wrong on the Cowboys. I thought they were due to a step back, and we're about to find out over the next couple weeks whether they are really good or they beat up on the Jets and the Giants, and once they get out of New York, things will be just fine. Did you see the social media team, by the way? Excellent job by the Dallas social team. They tweeted out, "We run New York," after beating the Jets and Giants at combined 70-10 in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I did see that post, and that is actually absurd. 70-10 is ridiculous. But again, I'm not too high on the Cowboys. I think what they've done the first 2 weeks is pretty impressive, but they do this every year. They do this every year, Craig. And just like Stephen A., late in the season, we will be talking about, how about those Cowboys? I can't wait.
I mean, you're not going to find out much next week. They're at Arizona. But then you've got New England, San Francisco, Chargers, Rams, Eagles, Giants again.
Let's see them versus the 49ers. Let's see. What week is that, 4?
That is Sunday Night Football, week 5.
Week 5. I'm locked in, Craig.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
Yep.
Week 5.
Looking forward to it.
We'll be well rested. Oh, no, sorry. That's not the Thursday Night Football week for the Commanders. That's week 4. It's coming up.
No,
very fast.
Week 5 is.
Oh, week 5 is.
Yep,
right.
Yep.
So we'll be well rested. We can do whatever we want on Sunday, then get home and see the Cowboys and 49ers play and watch what happens. Dolphins, Patriots last night. Tua able to pull that thing out in the end. The Patriots are feisty, man. But at the end of the day, Dolphins, too much. Raheem Mostert, monster day, 18 for 121 and 2 touchdowns. Jalen Waddle left this game early, but not before. He had 4 catches, 486 yards. Tyreek found the end zone again. I think this was a better, obviously, defensive performance for Miami. I think Miami is a legit contender. They are a very, very good football team.
Yeah, Miami definitely, was able to put the finishing touches on the Patriots. But I want to shout out Christian Gonzalez, the job he did on Tyreek Hill. I don't think he gets enough credit. He balled out yesterday. He definitely did.
It was 4 for 40 for Hill. Pretty chill day.
And he got an interception yesterday, too. So I'm just like, that's pretty good.
About first career pick for Emmanuel Forbes and Christian Gonzalez on the same day.
Back-to-back picks, baby.
There you go. All right, how do we do? Speaking of picks, how do we do?
We still have one game. We have the Titans and Chargers. That's the last one.
Where did that one go? Oh, it was up here. I totally went right by it. Got so distracted by Bears and Buccaneers. Titans and Chargers. You want to do this one because you got it right?
Yes, sir.
Dang.
Derrick Henry, baby.
25 carries, 80 yards for Henry. Herbert, 305 in the loss. I mean, this is a bad loss for the Chargers.
Terrible loss.
They're up early in this one, and they it's hard to hold those big leads. And you look at all the stats, and you're like, oh, Keenan Allen, monster day. Justin Herbert, monster day. But you actually mentioned it on Friday, like with no Austin Eckler, they couldn't run the ball as effectively. And that's how you kill off games. It's how you make them shorter. And they failed in that regard.
Yeah, and Kelly also ended up fumbling / dropping the ball that led to a touchdown. I don't know. But, yeah, the Titans went out there and did what they had to do, man. Leaned on Derrick Henry a little bit. D-Hop, he had a solid outing as well. But their defense is going to be their calling card all season long. Yeah,
Kevin Byard, 12 tackles in the game. So good from that safety position. Cleans up a lot of stuff. And ultimately, Nick Folk, the game-winning field goal. All right, so how did we do, picks-wise?
So I went 12-2.
Woo!
And you went 9-4, Mr. Hoffman.
All right, so that gives you a 3-game lead, depending on what happens tonight.
Yes,
Going
sir.
into tonight?
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So
No. 4-game lead.
I thought you were one better than me last week.
Yep.
We're tied going into Monday Night Football.
One better last
Oh, you're 3 up. You went 12. I got 9.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Math, not my strong suit. So, all right, you're 4 up. We'll see what happens tonight. I can pick one back up if the Steelers beat the Browns. If not, I will be behind. But that is a hell of a redemption job by Anthony Haney.
Woo! Week 2, baby.
No longer the week from hell for young Mr. Haney. We get back. Anthony is going to help me out with our pick 6. We didn't have a pick 6 on Friday because our show was shortened due to Maryland football. So we're going to pick our 3 stars of the game each. We just can't pick the same players. So we're going to pick 6 it live next here on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live on the free Odyssey app and streaming live on YouTube. They get real Icarus-y, to go back to your Greek mythology days. You remember the story of Icarus, Anthony?
Not quite, Frank.
What do they teach you at Georgetown Prep? Icarus, the guy who flies too close to the sun.
Nope.
What do they teach you at Georgetown? Anthony, I think you just put your job at risk at Georgetown Prep.
Why?
There's no way that they did not teach you the story of Icarus at Georgetown Prep.
We actually did a lot of Greek mythology, though. We didn't talk about Icarus flying too close to the sun.
Yes, you did. You don't remember it. I feel very confident. Who can we call
It's okay.
at Prep
I'm
to
gonna ask
confirm
my
this?
kids. I mean, I will just do that right now, actually.
Okay. I would like you to ask someone of authority. Do we teach about Icarus?
2 hours later.
Did we ever check in on that, Anthony?
Yeah, my classmates actually texted me and said, "Yeah, we've done it."
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to figure out where you were on that day of class at a later date.
You're right.
Last night, Arina Sabalenka makes the U.S. Open final, the Belarusian player, and here's how it sounded on Belarusian television.
Арина Соболенко! Ваму! Что Арина недостойна звания первой ракетки мира.
Yeah.
Получите! Распишитесь!
Oh, yeah.
Rising up, back on the street. Did my time, took my chances. When the distance, now I'm back on my feet. Just a man and his will to survive. So many times it happens too fast.
Oh,
You change your passion for glory. It's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the night. Rising up to the challenge of a rival. And they lost, no survivor. Все, ребята, я сдулся.
10 out of 10. No notes. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube. What's up to the YouTube streamers for the final hour of the show. Of course, that could be you if you're someone who drives home and then turns off the show and you get in your car, leave on your car radio, and it's like, okay, I'll listen to the Junkies in the morning. Cool, but you don't have to give us up. Just go to your smart TV, open the YouTube app, and Anthony and I will be there waving at you, saying hello, talking the same sports that we have been all show long. And at 6 o'clock, many days a week, we take 6 of the top Commanders story headlines, and we talk about them. We call it Pick Six.
The 6 biggest Commanders storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
I'm going to be their biggest and harshest critic, but I'm also their #1 fan.
All right, and here's how we're going to do this today. We are going to pick 6 players, 3 apiece, stars of the game. We cannot pick the same players, so you and I each kind of get our own 3 stars of the game, if you will. So, do you want to go first? You want me to take the first pick?
I will let you take the first pick because he's the easiest and obvious one.
If it's that easy and obvious, then why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Well, Sam Howell.
Okay, I don't know that it's that obvious.
Oh, you didn't think it was that obvious?
No, I mean, Sam was on my list for sure, but tell me why you think it's that obvious.
Well, first of all, again, as you alluded to in 1st and 10, just how resilient this guy was. You know, the offense didn't get off to all that of an impressive start, and then, you know, to be trailing 21-3, things not going our way, it seems, you know, it would be easy for a young quarterback of his stature to, you know, get rattled a little bit. But everybody always talks about Sam Howell, how he doesn't, you know, get down, and he's always, you know, a little afloat and things of that nature. And he showed that, you know, being able to mount this comeback. I would say, you know, there are some concerns, just minor concerns, you know, being able to take 4 sacks and then also having a lot of his passes deflected off the line. Those are the 2 things that, you know, I would love to see him improve and, you know, work on. But outside of that, Craig, his poise in the pocket, you know, being able to, you know, get the ball to his playmakers, Terry McLaurin, Jahan, he showed me sort of kind of what we want in a franchise QB. I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want to jump the gun just yet. You know, there's still more to see out of this kid.
Got a long way to go. Franchise QBs don't have one game.
You're right.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah. But, you know, 3 starts into his Commander's career, I like what I've seen out of Sam Howell so far.
How could you not? They're 3-0, and he's played well in all 3 games. I don't disagree that he was probably 1, 2, or 3 for me. Like, he was very high on this list. Sam was very, very good yesterday. He still holds the ball too long at times. His footwork is still not matched up to the progression at times. He's short, and some quarterbacks that are short never get balls batted. He seems to get a couple, and what I'm waiting for is a devastating ball that gets picked that would be a wide open touchdown. If it's 2 inches higher, that gets picked for like a pick 6 or something. That's going to really hurt, and it very much feels like it's coming. But if it does, maybe it won't be as catastrophic because he's not bothered by seemingly anything. He just keeps playing, and I think you just have to love his demeanor. And yeah, man, I'm very, very, very impressed by what I saw from Sam. I will take Daron Payne, though, as my #1 guy.
Seahawk.
The way that this dude just decided, bleep this, I am going to get this offense off the field right now and let our offense, which is cooking, see if they can continue their first half momentum on that first drive in the second half, is something I haven't seen many players do ever. That was like Aaron Donald stuff. That was crazy. Just single-handedly destroying a series. And then, by the way, he kept being great. He had a key pressure later in the game on a very well-called blitz by Jack Del Rio, where he beats Mike McGlinchey. And Mike McGlinchey's like, how am I matched up on Daron Payne? Where's Montez Sweat? That's who I was ready for. Uh-oh, I'm not ready for this guy. Not that McGlinchey was super ready for Montez most of the day either, but I mean, he's playing at an all-pro level right now. Like, I think Daron Payne could make all-pro this year. I know that seems crazy because He just made his first Pro Bowl. He just got signed. And the depth of the position in the league is preposterously good. Like, you're talking about Dexter Lawrence and Chris Jones. And when you're making All-Pro, it's not NFC. It's NFC and AFC. Obviously, Aaron Donald's still Aaron Donald. He's still playing. They got dudes in San Fran. They got dudes in Philly. They got, guys all over the place that are awesome. I don't know how many better. Certainly through 2 weeks than Payne, and I don't think he's slowing down. I think this is who he is now. I think he's just a monster.
I mean, I agree. Again, there were like 2 separate drives where, it was Deron Payne doing everything. You got the TFL, you got the pressure on.
Ball batted down.
Like, he was everywhere. And
he makes plays like on the numbers at the sideline. Like, he runs guys down.
Yep.
It's not like he just is a pass rush specialist and then it's like, if the ball's going outside, whatever. Like, he plays his ass off every single play and he finishes plays.
Yep. And I think that's one thing, a lot of the coaches wanted him to be able to do, building up before he got his contract, and then he ended up getting his contract, and he's just, finishing like where he left off last season.
Yeah, without doubt. All right, who you got? You're up next.
Number 3, Mr. Hoffman. I'm going to go with Eric Bieniemy.
I was wondering if you were gonna go this path. I was thinking about it. Talk to me.
Okay, I go with EB just because, again, the offense got off to an extremely slow start, but he didn't go away from like what he wanted to do. We still were able to run the ball and build off of being able to run the ball. That shot, all the way to Terry, that was because we were being able to run the ball effectively and then set up for a deep shot. So Eric Bieniemy being able to do that and then also get B-Rob involved in the screens. I would say we had 3 different screens to like 3 different guys, and that
they
was
were all effective.
Exactly, all effective down the field. I would have loved to see Cole Turner stay on his feet for that one because there was nobody in front of him. Nobody.
Yeah.
And then also you get everybody involved. I want to say there were like 7 different receivers that Sam Howell was able to connect with early and often. So just being able to use everybody. And we always talk about how deep we are as a team. And, he went out there, utilized everybody. You got Curtis Samuel involved, Jahan early, Terry, of course. So I think Eric Bieniemy, his play calling was something crazy, to be honest.
It was so good for 2.5 quarters. It's a little pass happy for me early, but is what it is. I do wonder, though, is like maybe EB's passing so much early to just make B-Rob angry. And it's like, all right, you want to run it? We'll try it your way. Mm-hmm. Watch this, guys. He just obliterates people, which is why I think my number 4 is going to be Brian Robinson.
Okay.
He deserves a lot of love for what he did yesterday. As you said, the screen. Although I will say, my guy, I know you're afraid of getting caught from behind, and when you're out there running, you want to run fast. But when you are in space and you have a caravan of offensive linemen in front of you, running in front of them just means the defenders have access to you. So that was my one Brian Robinson critique. If you watch on that screen, he gets up on the back of the O-lineman too fast, and it's like, dude, if you could just have an ounce more of patience, your O-lineman just murders the poor defensive back 20 yards down the field, and you probably score. But they still got a huge gain, and obviously B-Rob has been so good as a runner over his career, his young career, and was excellent yesterday, and he's become a complete player. He's a guy you can rely on. He's a guy you can put a lot of load on, and those backs are becoming rarer and rarer in the league of guys that, and not necessarily the guys that are capable, but guys that actually do it and produce week in, week out, because there's not that many that are asked to. And Robinson was asked to yesterday. Obviously Gibson does not get a lot of carries after the fumble. They have him in some very key situations, and I thought the usage of Gibson yesterday was fantastic. I actually would like to see him get a couple more running attempts, but I think he only had 2 carries on the game, and then the big screen pass late. But Robinson carrying the load, true RB1, and did it well yesterday. I'll take Brian Robinson as my second player here in our pick 6. We're picking the top 6 performers yesterday from the Commanders. I get 3. Anthony gets 3. He's got Howell and EB so far. I've got Deron Payne and Brian Robinson. And who's your last one?
My last one is going to be a defensive guy. It's going to be Chase Young. And I'm saying Chase Young just because I'm actually proud at, his performance. Yesterday he was able to record 3 tackles, also got a sack and a half. But this was just a huge game. A lot of people had been, sort of down on Chase in the offseason. He was brought up in a lot of, trade rumors and things of that nature. And him going out there, getting that sack and a half, equaling the sack total he had from 2 years ago prior to his injury. It was just good to see Chase really flash. And, Ron Rivera was asked about, Chase Young's performance earlier today and whether or not it reminded of him as a rookie. And he was like, yeah, he definitely showed that flash, and we're going to need more of that if we want to be successful. So Chase, just going out there, shutting out all the noise, and, being effective out there in the run and pass game is why he's my number 5 guy.
At the beginning of Alien Superstar, as in the Beyonce song?
Yeah.
When it's like, this a reminder. Like, that's what it felt like. Chase should have just, hit that and then just went and chased down Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. And kind of appropriate because, Chase has been, alien predator man. The comparisons that people make or the analogies, whatever that is. He's not of this planet. The talent, the physical ability that he has, speed, power, all that kind of stuff. The question is, the stuff that here on planet Earth is very important. Do you have the discipline to rush within the scheme week in and week out? And the thing that I found so impressive, and Logan and I talked about this last night on the pod, which of course you can listen to the live stream post game, or you can check it out in your podcast feeds first thing Monday morning. But so actually I'll go back to the pregame. We talked about how Allen and Payne love rushing next to Sweat because they know that he will work with them. That he will, okay, Montez got cut inside, I'll go outside. Or if I get washed outside, Montez will come inside. If I get pushed up in the pocket, Montez will cover for me. And the way that those duos work together amongst those 3 is super elite. And James Smith-Williams and Casey Toohill and F.A. Obata have done a great job making that a fairly easy thing to do as a foursome the past couple of years. And with Chase, it's we don't know where that 4th dude's going to be because he might get 12 yards up the field. He might try to bowl inside. We don't know. He's out there rushing and it's a one-on-one drill, and it's not. We got to work together. There's a play late in this game where Chase goes inside and John loops around. It's a little TE stunt. And Russ sees Chase dive inside. And by the way, it's right after a play where Chase did the wrong thing, where Chase gets washed way up the field. And literally the next play, it's John said, hey, man, just work with me here. Or they just did, or what. I don't know if there's any communication about it. But Chase bowls inside, winds up picking the tackle, but also kind of breaking through. Picking the guard, but also breaking through. And Russ sees Chase coming. He's like, well, I got to go. This idiot's inside. I'm going to run outside. And he goes to run outside, and he realizes that John Allen's waiting on him. And I think Chase winds up getting a knockdown on that play. Or it might have even been the play that Chase and Montez meet at the quarterback. They're half sacked together, which was kind of Commander's dreams coming true. Yep. From the last 3 years when they drafted him. God, okay, meet at the quarterback. They literally did. But to see that discipline and to see those guys work together, if Allen and Payne can get the same comfort with Chase as they have with Montez, that's going to be really special. And that's when this defense could elevate to the top 5 in the league. So Chase is a great call. I don't know that he's truly one of the 6 best players yesterday, but he deserves a shout out. We're going to talk about the stuff he's got to grow on, just like we will with Sam. But you also, like with Sam, see the tremendous upside that he brings and the kind of high impact, high caliber play that the guys that are behind him just can't make. With all due respect to those guys who are very, very solid, good NFL football players. All right, that leaves me with the pick of the litter, huh? I could go Terry McLaurin. I could go Emmanuel Forbes and his first pick. I could go
Jamin.
I could go Jamin. I could go Tress Way if I wanted to pull an accurate wacky bit. He had a couple of really nice punts yesterday, and he's had to deal with Cameron Cheeseman snaps. I think I'm going to go Jamin. he was good yesterday. Like, they get caught early in that game, a couple of, crossing routes and things, and obviously the touchdown is more, quote unquote, on Cody Barton. That's a tough play, man. Like, I know everyone wants to kill Barton because it's a hobby horse, and they want it. Should they have done better at that position in the offseason? Maybe. Are they using Jamin and Cody right? I think we're still a couple of games away from really understanding. But, like, as much fun as we made of Scott Turner for calling mesh on every 3rd and 4th down, there's a reason mesh is a great concept. 3rd down, 4th down, red zone. You get a lot of traffic across the middle, and there's a lot of communication that's supposed to happen. And if you hit it, like, great, and then you'd be forced very tough throws, and the receivers who would run against man coverage wind up having to sit down and find these very tiny windows, and it's a 5-yard gain. But what often happens is, especially in like some of these zone match coverages, is you think you're chasing a guy, all of a sudden there's another guy screaming across the other way. You're trying to figure out, as you're about to run into each other as a linebacker and a DB, who's supposed to go where, and that's how they get their first, second, third. It wasn't the one to Mims. Mims was the second touchdown. Was that the third touchdown? The crossing route? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was the third one.
The first one was the rushing touchdown. So, tough break, and obviously that first drive, your linebackers could do a lot better. But Jamin makes the play that changes the game, and he's super solid in most snaps yesterday. Like, he's going to grade out very well. His PFF grade was very good for this game. I already checked it. I don't remember it, but I think it was in the 70s. But he makes the play, and someone had to be the one to stop the bleeding, and it was him. And that's the thing. These first-round guys, and we just talked about it at length with Chase, Jamin, Montez, Duran, John, Emmanuel Forbes, who has his first career pick yesterday, and if he had kept his feet, it would have been a pick 6. What separates a first-rounder and a third-rounder and a fifth-rounder, third and fifth-rounders, they can be solid football players. Rarely are they playmakers. Your first-rounders are either literally never making mistakes, or they are playmakers. And this team has playmakers. And the Chase Young model and the Emmanuel Forbes model and the Jamin Davis model of first rounder is, they're going to mess some stuff every once in a while. They're going to take a gamble because they're athletic enough that they can take gambles and have them pay off in their favor with some level of regularity. But those gambles sometimes are going to hurt you. And when they pay off, they're going to pay off in ways that your average player could never dream of. And that's the kind of thing with Jamin. And yesterday, look, he chases down a mobile quarterback. I don't know that it seems that superhuman on its level, but to get him before he gets to the sideline, because he's so fast to be able to get there, if that's Cody Barton, all due respect to Cody, or, Khaleke Hudson or David Mayo for sure, they might recognize that play and chase Russell Wilson down, but Russell probably gets to the sidelines. Jamin gets there so fast, he's able to knock the ball out, while also getting away with the face mask. And that changes the game. So, I type it down, make it official. Jamin Davis, he gets our 6th star. I like the way we did that there. 5 and 6. I don't know if Chase and Jamin are the actual 5th and 6th best players yesterday, but they sure deserve recognition and played massive roles in winning the football game.
Yep.
The other thing that I'm going to shout out, bonus real quick, just because we haven't talked about them at all yet. Maybe there'll be a little bit more next. We're going to play some of the Ron Rivera sound next. I'm just going to shout out the offensive line in general. They did not have a clean, great game, obviously. But they faced adversity early, and then they were really good the rest of the day. And they deserve credit. And this is a unit that has taken a lot of flack. And they took a lot of flack before they ever played a game. And then they have taken some extra flack from certain corners of the fan base because they don't actually understand that a lot of these sacks are the fault of their beloved young quarterback. And yesterday, there was one speed rush where Charles Leno got whipped pretty good. There's some other issues that come up throughout the game. But those dudes balled out in that 32-3 run. And that includes some of the screen passes. Nick Gates was fantastic in those situations. The pass protection was good. You don't get some of the deeper stuff like the Terry touchdown without good pass pro. And so shout out to the offensive line who, we mentioned Sam. I mentioned B-Rob as well. Those guys aren't productive without the big fellas up front. So shout out, bonus, pick 6. I'll pick the 5 of them. to give a little extra shout out. Oh, 6 because Ricky Stromberg came in for a stat.
Yep.
Boom. I made it work. All right, it's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And when we get back, you'll hear from Ron Rivera on the good, the bad, and the ugly from yesterday's game before real things were smoothly operating with you up until 7. as well on the free Odyssey app. That is Anthony Haney there. I am Greg Hoffman. He's the fine producer of this program. Producer who cannot save me from myself, where I don't have to tape the graphics sometimes. Still getting used to the new digs, Anthony. But you know what? You know a way we can help we can hold ourselves accountable.
How?
That's a fiver for me. That's we can't be doing that. We can't just rest on our laurels and blame new surroundings. Good craftsman never blames his tools. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When do you want to get lunch this week, by the way?
That's up to you because you're the one that has to take your car to the dealership.
Yeah, I gotta schedule that. So I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to do that this week, to be honest. That's a good reminder for me. I gotta take care of that tomorrow.
Oh.
So tomorrow morning when you text me, just be like, good morning, what the hell do you want to talk about on the radio today? Be like, also schedule your car maintenance.
I got you.
You can produce my life and my show.
I'll try.
Someone's got to. Shouldn't all have to be on Rachel. You know why I said that? Because she's not listening.
Yes. Oh, wow.
She's busy right now. She has a thing. No. Don't make your wives manage your life. You're an adult. I'll be an adult. But it is our car, so on that one, it's at least fair. Okay, I should get myself out of trouble right now. Let's talk. Let's stop talking and let you hear from Ron Rivera, who had 3 key things that he talked about today. Sam Howell and his performance. Chase Young, his performance. And hey, dude, why is Cameron Cheeseman still your long snapper? Because he could have cost you the game. So let's start off with the quarterback. Here was Ron extensively on the good and the bad from Sam yesterday.
I thought Sam handled some things very well. You know, there were some really good opportunities we had. He made some real good decisions early in the game. We moved the ball. Unfortunately, we weren't consistent that we needed to be. Whether it was we dropped the ball, whether it was we missed a block, or we got a penalty, and then we missed a kick. That was disappointing. At worst, at one point we should have been down 8. It should have been 14-6, something like that. But everything that happened, everything that we did wrong is easily corrected, and that's one of the things that we've got to do. As far as Sam was concerned, as I said, he did some really good things early on. A couple of mistakes. I'd like to see him. He could have gotten rid of the ball sooner. But in the second half, that's the things that we saw that were really positive. Was that you saw him make that decision to throw the ball away. You saw him make the decision to be, very forward in terms of just tucking it, running, and sliding. Doing those things are starting to, show us the growth that we're looking for in his decision making. That's always good to see. And he threw some really good balls. The touchdown he threw to Logan was about as good as it could be. The touchdown throw he threw to Terry was as good as it could be. Those are the things that you see because now he's anticipating. He's throwing people to the ball in terms of, the one he threw to Terry, you could almost say he helped throw Terry open into the area that he needed to be. And, of course, it was a hell of a catch. Both his and Logan's were terrific touchdown catches.
They were. Really, really special stuff on the Logan catch. And obviously it's terribly unfortunate that he has that concussion because Kareem Jackson hit him dirty. And that's a second straight week that Kareem Jackson's knocked someone out. And for some reason, that's not enough for the NFL to suspend him. What the hell are we doing? As for Sam, though, I tend to agree with Ron's analysis. There is stuff to clean up. But I don't know, Anthony. I don't feel like he made any big mistakes yesterday. And I think that's definitely an upgrade. He never really put the ball at risk. Obviously, they dodged a huge bullet, one of the deflective passes. And this is the game is spiraling out of control, and they get a pass deflected, and it nearly gets picked by Singleton, the linebacker. And I think it's Logan, actually, that knocks it out, and they live to survive another down, but also just the avalanche of momentum that would have been had they thrown a pick there would have been disastrous. But I just feel like even when they were down big, it wasn't because Sam was doing anything wrong. They just couldn't execute at a super high level offensively and were an absolute mess on the other side of the ball. I don't feel like there was any point yesterday where I'm like, this is on Howell. He's playing poorly, which is great for a guy in his 3rd career start and his 1st career on the road.
Yeah, some stuff he was, he was trying to force one pass I remember, Josie Joe, he ended up, getting a good hand when he was trying to get the ball to Jahan on like a crosser. And then probably when he lost the ball, I think Booker like slapped it out of his hand, and we recovered. That's probably like the only 2 times I can really remember, him really being sort of kind of careless, but for the most part, he did a great job taking care of the ball.
And does that mean his carelessness and turnover? I don't even want to call it carelessness. His turnovers are done forever? No.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be up and down, and that's part of having a young quarterback. But I do appreciate that it is better now than it has been, and we'll obviously see where it goes from here. And he seems to not make the same mistake twice. And so there's certain things that are certainly better. I think there are times yesterday that he senses pressure and he turtles up and gets down, or figures out how to throw the ball away or in the dirt, and that's an upgrade over what he did week 1 with, of course, that sack fumble. Chase Young, upgrade over what he did in week 1 because he played, and he played overall, I think, well. Definitely some things to clean up, but Ron Rivera saw, I think, the promise that we've all been waiting for from Chase.
Scott, to your point, he did remind me a lot of the things from his rookie year. First of all, he was so excited to get back out on the field. We had to really kind of try to tempo him the best we could. A couple times he popped out there, when it wasn't his time to rotate in, but we try to maintain that with him as good as we can. Secondly, I thought he did show his explosiveness. There were some times where you saw him just flat out win on his own, and the quarterback just barely get the ball out on time. And then you saw his persistence in terms of countering, coming back underneath, and then getting his first sack. That was good to see. And then there were a couple times, especially in the red zone when we needed him and Montez came through together where they met at the quarterback. That was a lot of fun. So you're starting to see him get back into it. I think he's got to work a little bit on his communications with the tackle that he's rushing with, so that, again, hey, I'm going to go up and under, or I'm coming inside, cover me, and those types of things. So he's got a little work to do, but it's great to see because he is first of all, he's in great shape. He kept himself in great shape. He worked at his craft while he was waiting for his opportunity, and so right now his return to play isn't going to be one of those where you just keep waiting for it to come. I think he's where he needs to be, and he'll just keep getting better, I believe, in terms of his performance and his working with his teammates.
And that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about, right? Like, how does he continue to get better? He continues to, work in conjunction with the other players around him. So that is having the communication with Duran or John like we did. There's a 2-play sequence. It's like the good and the bad late in that game. Bad, go way wide and don't have your guy cover inside, and you leave a huge gap and Russell gets out. Good, or actually I think on that one he didn't even get out. I think he just left a very easy throw because there's all of a sudden this massive throwing lane, and especially against a guy like Wilson who's 6 feet tall, like, make him find a window. Don't let him just throw it through a giant gap. Make him throw it over you. You're Chase Young. You're 6'6" and have very long arms and are very vertically explosive. Up you go. Tip balls are part of the Chase Young package. Don't take yourself out of the play. But then you see the next play, like a fantastic rush inside where John loops around and you see the teamwork there, and that's great. But then it's just the discipline to know, like, you can't do certain stuff in the league because if you give those easy throwing lanes, if you give the big rush lane, the cutback, if you give the running escape route for the quarterback, that's what leads to big off-schedule explosive plays, which is how you lose in the NFL. So there's a lot there for Chase Young to improve on, but you see the explosiveness, you see the knack for making the big one, and you do see him batting it down at times. It's just, can he be more consistent with those types of rushes where he's going to be super duper effective if he can? And I think him making plays like the meet Montez at the quarterback play, him doing that on a consistent basis is going to be the thing that convinces him, like, that's the way to play. Hey, when I freelance, bad stuff happens. When I do what they ask me to do, good stuff happens. Okay, I'm going to do the good stuff because even if you do it for selfish reasons, it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. Last but not least, Anthony, let's hear Ron Rivera on the old long snapper. What'd you make of the bad snap? And then we'll get more details from there.
The biggest thing, more than anything else, was a little disappointed in the very first snap. And it's crazy because you go back and look at the rest of his snaps, and they were pretty damn good. And, but this is something we have to do because it can't happen every week because it could cost you a game. It really could have. I mean, part of it is you don't want it to affect anybody else. And if we look at it that, hey, we need to have an insurance policy, if we need to do something, we're going to do it because it's what's best for this football team, and that's what we're looking at. We've talked about some options. One of the options is we're going to have a little information gathering tomorrow. We're going to bring in a few players, give them an opportunity to show us what they're capable of, and we'll take a look and go from there.
I mean, I don't know what that looks like. I'm guessing they just assume most snappers are going to get the snap accurate, and they'll put a stopwatch on him and be like, can you do it as quickly as Cheeseman can? Which does matter to eliminate all pressure because your snap to kick time is correct. But I don't know what more information you need. Like, yeah, you could have cost you the game. You're correct, Ron. You've known this was a thing for months. So why haven't you done anything about it? And by the way, what changed last year to this year? Why is Cameron Cheeseman having this problem?
To be quite honest, it's just his inconsistency, which seems to just show up once in a while. And the thing we can't have is we can't have it show up because the last thing you want is to have it cost you a point or two or three that could be the difference in a football game. And that's something that we have to be prepared to protect ourselves against. And as I said, because of that, we had conversations, and we're going to decide on some things and go forward. But again, we're going to do what we really believe is best.
Okay, that's the thing about inconsistency. It doesn't. If he was bad, he would be consistent, and it would suck all the time. Inconsistency is about being good sometimes and bad sometimes. So it's not a thing that shows up sometimes, unless it, you've had. Especially, it's not something you can say has shown up sometimes when we are a month and a half, 2 months into this. Bad snaps in camp, bad snaps in preseason, and now bad ones in actual games, including one that cost you a really bad miss by Joey Sly yesterday. Like, not even close type of miss from Joey Sly. All right, that is what you get from Rivera today. More from him tomorrow on the show. And next, real things real people said into real microphones. First, though, a quick look at... It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Oh, right on time for the party. The light's just going to die. We're just going to look terrible, hideous, unlit for this last segment, Anthony. Ugh. Woo! That was rough.
Dang, man, I hate that for you.
I hate it.
You know, I'm out here shining bright like a diamond.
I just don't get it. It's plugged in, bro.
Maybe it's the top.
Maybe the top's unplugged? I don't know. Too late to figure out now. Maybe it just got too hot. Overheated.
Yeah, that too.
Whatever. Sorry if you stuck around this long on the stream. This is what you get. But the good news is we got real things, real people said in real microphones. On the show tomorrow, what do we got, Anthony? I've watched a little bit more of the tape by then, so that'll be good. We got some more analysis. What else we got?
We have that's a great question, Greg. And let me go ahead and pull this up. What happened from the weekend?
Yeah, what else happened this weekend?
We got Linnell.
Oh, that's right. Overreaction Tuesday with Linnell. I'm pumped about that.
And yeah, that's it so far.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll see what else we dig up. But yeah, that's the plan.
Maybe we do some from John. I didn't get to hear him on the Junks.
Oh yeah, we can definitely dive back into what John Allen had to say.
Yeah.
So we'll figure it out. Pretty good at this.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do that then. As for right now, it is time for real things real people said into real microphones.
Real things.
We're not going to be so this year.
Real people.
5 and 11. Not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
Alrighty then. Oh, that's right. I'm in control of the volume now. I'm like, Anthony, turn it down. It's on me. All right. So, what do we just have this one, Anthony, or do you have some other ones too?
There should be 3 in there.
Oh, I only see 1 in the rundown.
Oh, you're in the rundown.
Yeah.
I thought you were in the folder.
No.
Okay, so we have Iron Eagle, of course.
Oh, right.
We have Iron Eagle, and then we also have
we got
the
Carlos,
the Geno Smith one.
Okay, do we have Carlos Sainz?
Yes, we have that one too.
Okay, excellent. Because I low-key teased that one a little bit earlier in the show.
Yep.
But let's start out with Ian, our buddy, our pal, CBS Sports play-by-play man. And there are rumors that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have been hanging out. Travis made a stink on his podcast this summer, like, hey, Taylor called me. Apparently, some people started talking to some people, and they're connected. Now Travis doesn't want to talk about it. Here's Ian yesterday on Travis Kelce's touchdown on CBS.
Low snap. Mahomes moving pocket. Mahomes floats it up. Caught! Touchdown, Travis Kelce! Kelce finds a blank space for the score.
That's really good.
A blank space to write his name.
Do you think he thought of that on the spot, or
No.
Okay, just making sure. I was just curious.
Here's my guess.
Playing for it.
Tomorrow maybe we'll have Ian and or Noah on the show.
Okay.
To discuss this. I also got to see who's calling the Commanders game this week. Is it another CBS game this week? No, we'll figure that out later.
They play the Bills. Yep.
All the AFC, NFC stuff's wacky now. But the point is, my guess is Ian was talking to Noah, his son, who's also a professional broadcaster and is doing the NBC Big Ten stuff right now, but also does like the Nickelodeon Kids Cast for the NFL and all kinds of good stuff. And they're both hilarious. They're both friends of mine. And he was like, Dad, I got one for you. If Travis scores. Or he was like, hey, Noah, if Travis scores, what would be a good one? And Noah hit him with blank space. That's my guess.
I like it. Well, I'll update you. The Bills will be playing the Commanders on CBS, so possibly.
Well, okay, if Ian's calling the game, then we'll probably try to get him on. Thursdays are rough for him because he does the Thursday night Westwood 1 game on the radio. So if Ian's calling the game this week, Ian will be on the show.
Yeah,
we'll figure that out.
Figure it out.
He's not going to say no. But I got to figure out the schedule. So we'll see, because there's a good chance. I mean, that's going to be one of the top CBS games this week. They have not sent out the game notes yet, so I'm not sure who it is. but I'll see if I can figure that out. All right, we don't have time for the other two ones, which stinks. Hilarious Geno Smith clip that we will absolutely play tomorrow. And Carlos Sainz, smooth operator. We must play that tomorrow as well. As for now, we bid you adieu. See you tomorrow at 4, The Hoffman Show on the Team 980.